Well. Welcome back, folks. Today's episode will be about the most complex user manual out there. I'll try to keep it simple, but can't promise anything on this topic because, folks, handling nagging in a relationship is something you will probably need to deal with someday. In today's episode, I'm going to explain it in my personal viewpoint combined with years of experience in the field. Now, we're gonna dive right in. There are some rules of thumb to win any argument. Well, win? At least not lose it. She would probably never truly admit that you were right, and he would most likely avoid admitting he was wrong. That's the first complicated point. Please understand that what she says she wants is not always what she actually means. We all recognize this example. When you were about to order some food and you ask her, "Would you like to eat something as well?" And she replies with, "No, I am not hungry." Well, we all know that you would probably end up splitting your meal, but that isn't as bad as it could get. Believe me when I say it can get way worse. I've been around many women, so I have a decent amount of experience in this field. And please, think twice before you say things like, "Well, actually, I also have experience with women." No, you probably don't. There's a big difference between having experience with loads of women and having experience with some women. I believe you're smart enough to understand the difference. But before we dive deeper into understanding how to handle nagging women, I am going to make clear the first set rules of thumb. 1. Always stay respectful. 2. Try to keep calm all the time. 3. Do not overreact. These rules of thumb are so powerful. Even when she gets as ugly as possible, let her rage out all the anger inside her and stay calm. Even if she crosses some of your personal boundaries. You don't see why? When you try to think of the main cause why a woman even starts nagging, a man probably can't even come up with a clear motive. But when you understand the psychology behind it, then you'll find out that she's only trying to test you. It's women's nature. They've evolved this way. It's nature's cause. Her unconscious goal is trying to provoke an emotional reaction. The reason why she does it is to test your reaction. Based on your reaction, she subconsciously judges how much she is attracted to you. This is so important to understand that I am about to repeat it. Her unconscious goal is trying to provoke an emotional reaction. The reason why she does it is to test your reaction. Based on your reaction, she will subconsciously judge how much she is attracted to you. When a man's emotions get the best of him, and he forgets one of the rules of thumb, the woman loses interest, respect, and the feeling of attraction. Besides unconsciously testing your reaction, there are many other possible causes for women to nag. For example, she had a bad day, she can be on her period, she's hungry, or she wants your attention. When you look at it this way, you realize that the similarities between a fresh-born baby and a woman have more in common than you could ever imagine. But back to the causes. This is where things get extremely complicated, because each cause requires a different approach. Well, yes, I am sorry, son. But like I said in the beginning, before you understand this, you must learn the world's most complex user manual out there. It took me over half a century before I started to spot certain patterns in women's behavior. But before you take this over blindly, I need to mention something that makes it even more complicated. Not a single woman is the same, but her behavior is basically programmed to survive the most easy and fun way. That's the true psychological factor behind it, even when she says she's different. And she probably is, because all women are different. That doesn't mean her behavioral intuition is basically designed to help her survive in a way her ancestors couldn't live without in the prehistoric primordial. So if you look at it that way, you cannot even blame her for it. On the flip side, you can view it as a strong characteristic. Gramps' guide will always push you to think optimistically and making your relationship thrive. But that's not it. You've come here to learn how to deal with nagging women. Beside the first set rules of thumb, there are some other strategic methods I've used in the past that helped me out. But remember that dealing with nagging in a relationship often takes time and patience. The most important thing is that both of you are willing to work on the relationship, and there's room for open communication and understanding between both partners. The following one can make you king in any argument. Listen proactively. When you start actively listening to your partner's concerns and feelings, reflect back on what they've said earlier to spot inconsistencies. This is a trick that helped me out so many times. When she tells you an inconsistent statement in comparison to an earlier statement, and believe me, most women do this, but do not interrupt her immediately. Gramps' guide would suggest you do quite the opposite. Remember her contradictory statements and wait for a moment where she calmed down to carefully approach her and confront her with the contradictory statements she told you before. Try to come over as friendly and humble as possible, in a way that you even act a bit confused, but still willing to do everything to work it out. This is where a man tests a woman's characteristic traits. Her reaction at that specific moment says so much about her. When you do this, you have to make sure you follow another set of rules of thumb. Number 1, stay friendly. 2, express your confusion. 3, stay open for solutions. After the confrontation is done, repeat what she said and how you understood it to ensure you've understood correctly. This can make your partner feel heard and valued, which reduces the need for nagging. But Gramps, what should I do when a woman crosses one of my personal boundaries? Well, son, the answer is simple but hard to apply. If she chooses to insult you in a way you can't forgive, I would recommend any man to leave her as quickly but as gently as possible. Even when you have been through so many good times, at least you'll make an unforgettable statement by saying a quick but respectful goodbye. Make it as clear as possible that you need some time to process this event. In the meantime, you can wait if she tries to find a way to seek contact in any manner possible. If she does, it's a good sign, although it isn't a 100% guarantee that she's a keeper. But if she doesn't, forget her and move on, son. Confused yet? This is only the beginning. As I mentioned earlier, each cause of nagging needs a different approach. This is where things get so complicated, even intelligent, full-grown adult men would struggle to understand it. Before we continue, Gramps' guide is really proud you are still trying to make sense out of it. Congratulations! The most common causes of nagging are divided into 5 categories. 1. Uncontrolled emotions. 2. External situations. 3. Logical sense. 4. Lack of attention. 5. Unmet needs or expectations. Now, let's dive into the different approaches. Disclaimer: first, you need to make sure in what category you place her behavior. Even when you observe it very carefully, it can be very hard for a man to choose which one, or even what combination of categories you should place it in. It can be lethal when you take the wrong approach for an unsuitable category. Smash the like, subscribe, notification, and share button if you're confused by now. Even though it's one of the most complicated sciences there is, I am trying to keep it as simple as possible. Now please, grab all your attention for the breakdown of the different approaches for each category. Category 1. Uncontrolled emotions. 2. External situations. 3. Logical sense. 4. Lack of attention. 5. Unmet needs or expectations. The first, uncontrolled emotions. This one is the most easy to solve, but it takes a careful approach. When she is emotionally unstable, her weaknesses are ready to be pleased. This is where you come into action. If you take advantage of her weaknesses in a gentle way, you can turn her mood with one of the greatest simple solutions, like a chocolate bar, a cute hidden love letter, or a photo collection. Bribes are definitely not always the solution, but I would argue that this approach works over 90% of the time for the category unstable emotions. And please don't forget, folks, timing is key and can be the difference between succeeding and failing the task of handling the nag. Now, we're going to find the right approach for the cause external situations. This one requires an even more careful approach than the first. Be warned, because chances are that there is nothing you can do to make it better. External situations are most of the time unsolvable for you, son. What I would recommend, as the experienced Gramps guide, is to make her forget the external situations for a while. This is where you take on your ability to distract her in any possible way suitable for the moment. In my opinion, there is one that stands out the most in an attempt to distract her. Take her upstairs, treat her like a queen, let her squeeze the mattress and have some intimacy together, if you guys know what I'm talking about. If applied correctly, you'll have a success rate of 11 out of 10. Next one, logical sense. By logical sense, I mean there is a reason so clear it is even impossible to sidestep the issue. So this one is pretty simple to solve 9 out of 10 times, but you are most likely to have to put aside your ego when you presume that the cause is yourself. So when you figured out that the cause must be logical, I wish you the best of luck. Because to be honest, the solution varies in a dozen ways. My advice? Use your common sense. The fourth cause, lack of attention. This one speaks for itself, but can be pretty challenging to solve. Often, she blames everything and anything. But it is important that you listen very carefully to what she is saying, especially because of the previously mentioned strategy. Remember contradictory statements. This is where you try to bend the conversation to your benefit by trying to convince her she is overreacting and needlessly suffering stress. Make her believe that it hurts you when you see her suffer like that, and it is not your intention. As a man, it is important to set boundaries when it comes to spending your time and attention. The final cause, unmet needs or expectations. She is probably nagging at you because she believes you're the instigator of her feeling that way. If she's not, Gramps' guide would give her some time to think over what she is complaining about. After I told her that she means the world to me, but there is a limit to the possibilities I can provide her. When you come back after a while, this one can be solved easily, folks. First, I would suggest helping her solve some of the unmet problems. When the expectations are unrealistic, then you'll need to explain why and make her understand it. Well, folks, the age-old dance of communication, where understanding is key. Remember, dear folks, relationships are a two-way street. Patience, empathy, and genuine dialogue can turn nagging notes into harmonious melodies. Farewell.